and Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X__ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. Big sports day today. We got Thursday night football, Rams and 49ers. We've got 3 elimination games in the wild card round of the Major League Baseball playoffs. Hopefully my Cubbies can get it done today at 5 o'clock. Frank Schwab is going to join the show. Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports does a great job covering the NFL. He's going to join the show at 11:20. We're going to continue talking about the Colts and everything going on. And once again, the Colts are where we start today. Xavien Howard. Xavien Howard has officially announced his retirement from the NFL, which means he will not be playing football for the Colts on Sunday. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I don't really know where that came from, but I feel like that's pretty fitting given how terrible that guy has been for the last 3 weeks. So he posted this thing on his Instagram talking about why he retired. And this is, I won't read the whole thing, but the third paragraph down, I will read. He says, "When I was away from the game in 2024, I fell in love with taking my kids to school, doing activities with them, and watching them grow up. Up to that point, I had always put my family after football. I'm no longer willing to do so. So today I am retiring from the National Football League. My purpose has been fulfilled in this sport, but my kids are more important to me than football. I've had a hell of a career, and even though it's ending in a unique way, I'm cool with that because for once I'm putting my family first, and I am proud and excited about that decision." All right, man. That's a load of hooey if I've ever heard hooey before. White person saying. So I'm just going to translate this for you. He's really saying that he's old and he doesn't have it anymore. If this was a family thing and he really, quote, fell in love with taking his kids to school and watching them grow up, he never would have come back to play football in the first place. He would have been like, nah, I'm cool. I'm assuming he lives in either Miami or Texas. He played college football at Baylor, obviously played many years in the NFL for Miami where he was an all-pro and all those things. If he really fell in love with, taking his kids to school and those things, why would he leave wherever he's from? Because it's not like he's from Indy. Why would he leave to go back and play football? I find that very hard to believe. He's simply just not good enough to be a starter in the NFL anymore. Okay, we've seen it for the last 3 weeks, right? It called for multiple penalties against the Broncos. The Titans are terrible, and he still got rung up for pass interference and holding and illegal touching and all those things. Then arguably against the best wide receiver in football, he got torched. And that was the end of it. And kudos to him, partially, for knowing that he's washed, because he is washed. Because there are some guys in the NFL who just stick around way too long. Russell Wilson needs to retire. Joe Flacco probably needs to retire after this year. There's some guys who just, they outstay their welcome. And I get it. Playing football at a professional level has got to just be awesome. That has to be so cool and so enjoyable, being in, a locker room with all sorts of different guys, just creating friendships and memories. And when you're an athlete, like, you never want to stop playing. That's why when you go to LA Fitness, there's 45-year-olds in there still trying to play basketball because it's just a special thing. And having to hang it up is no fun, whether it's the NFL, your LA Fitness, Saturday morning runs, whatever it is, it's not fun. So I do appreciate Xavien Howard's self-awareness of being like, you know what? I'm not very good anymore. And yeah, that's it. So what I'm willing to bet happened is this Colts staff finally was like, all right, you're done, man. You've struggled a lot. We're going to run Jonathan Edwards or Mekhi Blackmon or someone else like that out there to start at corner opposite of Charvarius Ward. So you sadly won't be playing anymore. And that's ultimately why he made the decision that he did. He didn't want to be a backup. I don't blame him. If I was Xavien Howard, the idea of backing up undrafted free agent Jonathan Edwards probably wouldn't sit very well with me. It's the reality of it. And in addition to that, I don't think you want a guy like that on your team. To Russell Wilson's credit, because I brought him up earlier, Jackson Dart mentioned how good of a pro he was when he got benched for Jackson Dart. And you want guys like that on your team. You want a player that's fully committed, whether they're playing or not, and a player who retires after struggling for 3 weeks and likely getting benched because, he didn't play very well, is a player that doesn't care about his team. It's a player who really cares about himself and cashing the check. And so I would argue that it's definitely good that he's gone. Not necessarily, partially because he wasn't very good when he played. He struggled mightily when he played. But and I'm saying this because I don't really know, but I would say that his actions reflect this. If he's a me guy, then it's definitely good that he's gone. So who are the Colts going to turn to at corner? They signed a safety. I'm assuming part of that's because of the Daniel Scott injury. He didn't practice yesterday. He's got a knee issue. So they may be bringing in a safety for that. And then they also signed a corner this morning, another guy who used to play for the Minnesota Vikings. So we'll kind of see what they end up doing, but I'm just going to assume that they're going to run Jonathan Edwards or Mekhi Blackmon out there to play corner. They can't. Good news for those guys. They can't do any worse than what Xavien Howard has done the last 3 weeks. I think this is a good week to make the switch, just simply because the Raiders' best receiver is Jacoby Myers. Good player. But, I think I'd rather defend Jacoby Myers for my first start as opposed to Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams. The Raiders don't have any great wide receivers. Obviously, Brock Bowers is a bit of a problem, but he's usually lined up on the inside or in the slot, or he's got his hand in the dirt. So, if you're Jonathan Edwards or Mekhi Blackmon, whoever the Colts decide to run out there, they're not going to have to deal with that. So there's a part of me, though, that wishes that they had made the switch a little bit sooner, just because, last week was so terrible for Xavien Howard. Like, do the Colts have a better chance of winning that game if Xavien Howard's not playing and it is Mekhi Blackmon or Jonathan Edwards out there playing corner? And I understand that veterans like Xavien Howard do get a longer leash, but the guy had been out of the league for a year. Like, isn't that a sign that he doesn't have it anymore? Like, the Colts were awful at corner last year. They were terrible. We knew it coming into the season. Jalen Jones, 7th round pick, who ended up being, a pretty solid guy. And then Samuel Womack, who they got off waivers. By the way, wait, no, they released him. Never mind. Would have been great if they kept him around because he was so much better than Xavien Howard. Then again, new system, maybe he didn't fit the scheme. I don't know, but still, like that should have been the writing on the wall of, hey, like maybe this guy isn't it. So I am looking forward to the switch, just from an effort standpoint, because there have been moments where Xavien Howard hasn't looked super interested. Mekhi Blackmon is a former third-round pick who tore his ACL. You know, the Vikings were like, we'll move you for a 6th-round pick. You know, because he was going to get cut, and then the Colts went out and gave up a 6th-round pick for him. So this is an opportunity for him to get his career back on track. Jonathan Edwards is an undrafted free agent. These are two guys who have a ton to prove, and at a minimum, they're going to play with significantly more urgency and effort than Xavien Howard ever did when he was lining up at corner for the Indianapolis Colts. So very intrigued to kind of see what they look like. Does this help the secondary? If it does, how much? Because ultimately, Mekhi Blackmon is a guy that the Colts only had to give up a 6th-round pick to get. And Jonathan Edwards is an undrafted free agent. So we'll see how things go there. Hopefully, things go well. And hopefully, the Colts can get a little bit healthier as this week goes on. So the Colts, their injury report came out yesterday. I try not to overreact too much to the injury reports just because they're not the end of the world, especially on Wednesdays. Like today, we'll get a much better idea of who's going to play on Sunday and who isn't. Alec Pierce, good news here. Full participant at practice yesterday. That points to him being on track and playing against the Raiders on Sunday. The Colts need him back for a couple of reasons. The biggest one, I didn't feel like the Colts receivers have made many contested catches on Sunday against the Rams. A.D. Mitchell had one, but he obviously drops it before he crosses the goal line. But aside from that, every completed pass felt routine for the wide receivers. That's not a bad thing per se. It means that guys were open and that Daniel Jones was making good throws, but it wasn't like there were a ton of chances for contested catches either. But it's nice, going to be nice, to have a guy like Alec Pierce back in the lineup where you can look out on the outside and say, hey, my 6'3", very fast and very athletic wide receiver, he's got one-on-one coverage on the outside, and he's running a go route. We can probably just throw it up to him if there's any trouble, which is nice. Like that's a really nice thing to have. The Colts didn't have that last week, so it'll be nice to have that option made available again. And, of course, you don't have to deal with A.D. Mitchell doing A.D. Mitchell things. Matt Gonsalves, starting right guard for the Colts, was a limited participant after missing the Rams game with a toe injury. He was at a boot for a day last week. He needs to come back. Dalton Tucker for a game is fine, but I don't want him out there for 2. He held his own on Sunday. To his credit, I hardly noticed him, and that, I think, is the goal of every offensive lineman. Like, I don't want my name to be called, because if my name gets called, it's probably because I keep getting beat or I keep holding. Like, that's just the reality of it. So Dalton Tucker's name was not called very often on Sunday, which was a good thing, but with that being said, like Matt Gonsalves has been one of the best offensive guards in football to start the season. Like if you go and you look at all the PFF stuff, he was great in pass protection, and he'd done really well in the run game. So the Colts will be better if he's back this week. I expect him to be. It seems pretty common for guys that are iffy or need rest or whatever it is. It's pretty normal for them to not practice on Wednesday, and then for them to practice on Thursday and Friday. So the fact that he was a limited participant yesterday, I think that bodes well in terms of him being able to come back and play on Sunday against the Raiders. Zaire Franklin, he didn't practice with an ankle injury. That's legitimately concerning. I don't think Zaire Franklin's a great player. He was second-team All-Pro last year, which is just bizarre to me. He's very average. He's currently missed 15% of his tackles this year. If he keeps that pace, that'll be a career high for him. The issue, and where this becomes concerning, is he's their best linebacker in a room with a lot of bad linebackers. Buddy Johnson just got signed off the Cowboys practice squad, and he's going to play this week. Like that's not a good thing. not a good thing. And if Zaire Franklin's out, it's not really going to matter if they run Joe Bacci or Austin Oh man, I'm gonna butcher his last name. A Jakey. Let's go with that. Or me, or you, or Darius Leonard is gonna be there Sunday. Shaq Leonard is gonna be there. Maybe instead of honoring him at halftime, they should just run him back out there. I mean, seriously, like that is how desperate the Colts are gonna be a linebacker if Zaire Franklin is unable to play. One way or the other, Ashton Jeanty, big day coming for the rookie running back who broke out with 3 touchdowns last week. Tyler Goodson still has a groin injury. Jonathan Taylor has played all of the snaps this year, it feels like. And I do wonder if part of that is because Tyler Goodson's really been banged up all year. Right? He's a smaller back, which is, so it's not super surprising. Hopefully, he can get back to being healthy soon so they can rest Jonathan Taylor in a different way other than only giving him 6 touches in the first half. I understand that they want to keep him fresh for late in the game. I understand that they want to keep him fresh for later in the year, but you still have to run the football. Only running the football 5 times and a half, like they did with Jonathan Taylor on Sunday against the Rams, is unacceptable. Like, you have to be more committed to the run than that, especially when you are one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. So maybe, just maybe, when Tyler Goodson gets healthy, they can, start to kind of rotate him in a little bit. He's another guy who can play on all 3 downs. Really fast dude, like faster than Jonathan Taylor. So hopefully, he's able to come back soon and be an impactful guy. Kenny Moore still isn't practicing with his Achilles injury. When this injury happened, it was very concerning. It's just the reality of it because he's Kenny Moore, been one of the best nickelbacks in the NFL for quite some time now. You could argue that he's been the best for the last few years. I would argue Devon Witherspoon of the Seattle Seahawks. But, if you want to disagree, that's fine. With that being said, like, the Colts obviously need him back because he is an excellent player. But Mike Hilton held his own against the Rams. He's a guy who's got a long history of being really good in Cincinnati with Lou Anarumo as his defensive coordinator. Now, it's only one game. We saw Xavien Howard be awesome week 1 against the Dolphins. And then it was, he just kind of fell off a cliff after that. So, like, that could happen with Mike Hilton. The difference is we've seen him have a lot of success in this system. This is a guy that Coach Anarumo knows extremely well. So I kind of expect for him to continue to be serviceable until Kenny Moore gets back. Daniel Scott, not practicing either. And like, this doesn't sound like a big deal, and it's probably not. The difference is, like, he's a backup and he does a lot of, special teams things and all that kind of stuff. With that being said, if either one of the second, if Cam Bynum gets hurt, this all of a sudden becomes very problematic for the Colts. I was looking for his name. I remember they signed some safety the other day. We'll see, if he actually makes the active roster or not. But he is injured, so we'll kind of see where things go from there. This continues to be the second most impressive part of the Colts season. Their ability to stay healthy, like the training staff, whatever they're doing to manage players and keep them on the field, has been impressive. And it's good because they're playing another team this week in the Las Vegas Raiders that are extremely healthy as well. So when we come back here in about 4 minutes, my thoughts on the Raiders, a team that I've been very wrong about. I'll admit when I'm wrong, people. A team I've been very wrong about. 1-3 starts. I thought they'd be much better than what they are right now, but it's all right. I'll talk about their injuries and whether or not they're good. I think that there's still an avenue for them to be good. We'll see. We'll talk about it in 4 minutes.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something? Boat wins! Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing? Boat wins! Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing? Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat. Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Dan Dockage at noon. The real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, this is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X __ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. The Raiders coming here to Indianapolis, and they're very healthy, except for two guys. Their starting left tackle got put on IR after their loss to the Bears, so they're going to have a new left tackle going against the Colts. Lonnie Johnson Jr. broke his femur in training camp. Don't know how you do that. I know one person who's ever broken their femur. It's my fifth grade teacher. She used to show cows, and she fell, and a cow stepped on her femur and just snapped it in half, which is that. Oh, that sounds terrible. So pretty tough to do that. Anyway, he's out all year. Aside from that, they're a very healthy football team. They had one guy who didn't practice yesterday, wide receiver Justin Shorter. But he's just sick. I doubt he's going to be sick all week. So everyone else looks pretty healthy. We'll see how much they play. So in terms of the injuries, I do expect for the Colts to make one adjustment off of that. I expect for Leatu Latu to line up over whoever else whoever is playing left tackle for the Raiders. The Raiders secondary was going to be bad, whether Lonnie Johnson Jr. played or not. This should be a big day for Daniel Jones. So are the Raiders good? This is the question. I thought they'd be better than they were last year. going from Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew and Desmond Ridder to Geno Smith felt like a major upgrade. Going from, I can see their Coach Pierce to Coach Pete Carroll, major upgrade. And it just hasn't really worked out. And the issue has been Geno Smith. He has struggled mightily. He is 31st amongst quarterbacks in EPA per play. He is 25th in quarterback rating, 22nd in completion percentage, 12th, surprisingly, in yards per attempt, which means, they're hitting big plays down the field, 14th in touchdown passes with 6, but he's thrown 7 interceptions, and that's the most in the NFL. He's having a very bad year. After a really nice 3-year run in Seattle where it looked like, he was fixed. Like he was, like I said, a really good player in Seattle, completing around, probably 67% of his passes, threw for 4,000 yards twice, went 10-7 last year as the starter, had a 30 touchdown season one year, like turned into a really good, solid starting quarterback in the NFL. And so Pete Carroll gets hired to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And he's like, we need to have, not Aiden O'Connell play quarterback. So he calls this guy Geno Smith, brings him in, and they've just run into a couple of issues in Las Vegas. The biggest issue, that offensive line is terrible. It's just awful. Geno Smith is running for his life every snap. And now their left tackle's out. He's been sacked the 5th most of any quarterback in the NFL. The Colts and the Colts fans should walk away from this game when it's over feeling so good about the pass rush. Latu should look every bit as dominant in this game as he did against the Rams. This is legitimately one of the worst offensive lines in football. Okay, now if you go and you look at Geno Smith's time to throw, I think it's like the 5th highest in the NFL. That is a testament to his ability to run away from defensive ends and defensive tackles and all of the blitzers coming his way. It's seriously. So he's going to be running for his life, should be running for his life once again against this Colts front. He also doesn't have a wide receiver like DK Metcalf to throw the football to. Jacoby Myers, good player. Very good player. Not elite, though, by any stretch of the imagination. So there's no like crazy, amazing wide receiver for him to throw the football to. Brock Bowers, right? That's the counter to this part. Oh, well, what about Brock Bowers? Brock Bowers is undoubtedly an elite, absolutely elite pass-catching tight end. He can't stay on the field, though, because he can't block, right? Like when he's on I'm telling you right now, when Brock Bowers walks out onto the football field on Sunday, just know that the Raiders are throwing here. He's throwing they're throwing the football on that down. No question about it. Okay? Because he can't block, which now means that Michael Mayer is playing the majority of the snaps at tight end. So when they're in 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back, it's not Brock Bowers. It's Michael Mayer playing more snaps because he's actually a threat to block, and Chip Kelly and the rest of this offensive staff, they don't want to give away what they're doing every play. So last year, Brock Bowers was out there every snap possible. This year, that is not the case. So the best player that Geno Smith can throw the football to isn't always out there when they're throwing the football. That's why it's so nice that Tyler Warren is very capable of blocking. It's the reality of it. So the Colts, the one thing that Geno Smith does have is a great running back. Ashton Jeanty is going to be a stud. I sent out a tweet last week that I think was misinterpreted. I commented that I'm convinced that they cover Ashton Janty's jersey in fish grease before he walks out there. And that was not me saying that he stinks. That was me saying that he is incredibly slippery. He seems to break a tackle every time he touches the football. Every time he touches the football. The issue is that terrible offensive line that I just talked about. It is tough to win when the big fellas up front struggle to block for your quarterback and they struggle to block for your running back. Because I'm sure that there are some quarterbacks or some offensive lines out there that are really good at pass blocking but struggle run blocking, or they're really good at run blocking but they struggle in pass protection. I'm sure that that's a thing. The issue for the Raiders is they struggle at both. Someone made this comment. I don't know if I call him a loyal listener. A guy who listens often, Peaches, apparently said that Geno Smith would have been a better quarterback option than Daniel Jones. I think we are prisoners of the moment right now. Geno Smith had been significantly better than Daniel Jones before this year started. And then you have to look at the situation. Daniel Jones' situation is so much better than what Geno Smith is dealing with right now in Las Vegas. Daniel Jones is operating behind one of the best offensive lines in football. He's got the best running back in football behind him. And he's got a multitude of weapons. Geno Smith is operating behind one of the worst offensive lines in football with Jacoby Myers as his best wide receiver, who'd be the fifth best wide receiver on this Colts roster. And sure, he's got a great running back, but that offensive line is terrible. So situation matters. Let's get back to the Colts now. The Colts defense should have a great day on Sunday. I expect for DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart to control the middle of the line of scrimmage. I expect for Leatu Latu to have another impressive day. I don't know how the linebackers are going to fare trying to tackle Ashton Janty. Here's the thing, though. If things go the way that I think that they will, Ashton Janty will not be making it to the second level of this defense very often. That is how bad this Raiders offensive line has been. And once again, their starting left tackle, he's on IR. So we'll kind of see how that goes. The secondary should have a nice day. There's no Puka Nacua. There's no Cortland Sutton. There's no Devontae Adams. There's no Calvin Ridley. There's no Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. This is by far the worst group of pass catchers that the Colts have played against. So, the Raiders aren't super explosive on the outside. With that being said, Jacoby Meyer, he's going to make a couple of plays here and there because, he is a good player. The only area where I think the Colts pass defense may struggle is if a linebacker has to step out and defend Bowers or Mayer. That's kind of the one issue that I see. Offensively, the Colts offense should have a good day. The issue is Max Crosby is an absolute beast. He's that dude, absolute stud. He is completely and totally capable of wrecking the game all by himself. Seriously, I don't know if you watched the Bears game last week when they played the Raiders. Max Crosby almost won that game by himself. He was in that backfield so often. Outside of him, not a ton to really worry about defensively from the Raiders. Devin White, 27 years old, still a really good linebacker, but I don't know, linebackers just seem less impactful than edge rushers and corners. With that being said, the Raiders are 14th in yards per carry allowed, so they're slightly above average there. They also haven't played anyone as well. They also haven't played anyone who runs the football as well as the Colts do. Like the Patriots don't run it well. The Chargers don't really run it well. They haven't really ran the ball much. The Commanders, they played them when Jaden Daniels didn't play. The Bears, they've really struggled to run the football. So the Colts should be able to find a way to hopefully, give the football to Jonathan Taylor and find some success. The secondary, as I mentioned, not very good. They are 23rd in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game. They're also 23rd in the NFL in yards per attempt allowed. Okay. They've also lost 3 games And what usually happens in those 3 games is when you're down late, the other team runs the clock out. It's usually what happens. So we'll see kind of how the offense fares, but it should be a really nice day. Sanchez hopefully shouldn't have to punt much. I think the only way that the Colts will lose this game is if they turn the football over. They are clearly the better team with the better roster. Okay. Monday should be another day of us talking about how good Daniel Jones played, and all the haters are going to mention how the Raiders secondary is straight up booty cheeks. So just go ahead and look forward to that on Monday. Coming up at 11:20, Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports does an excellent job covering the NFL. He is set to join the program. Going to be a blast. The last time Frank was on, it was a lot of fun to have him. So very excited to get him back on. The gap in college football has been made clear. Indiana, they don't play for 2 weeks, or I guess they don't play for a week and a half. They're off Saturday, and they'll go on the road to Oregon. And there's a gap in college football. It's very obvious every single year. The gap has been identified. I'll tell you what it is in 4 minutes.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays hit different when you earn them. We've got you covered with outdoor power equipment from Cobalt and everything you need to weatherproof your deck with Trex decking. Plus, with lawn care from Scott's and, of course, Pit Boss grills and accessories, you can get a home field advantage all season long. So get to Lowe's, get it done, and earn your Sunday. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. Just want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. The gap in college football, very, very clear. And when I say the gap, I'm talking about something that happens every single year. And it's one of the things about the sport that no matter how many teams they put in the playoff, no matter how much NIL or how impactful NIL is and revenue sharing, it doesn't matter how they change the sport. This will always be a thing. There is always a huge gap between the three at most, the three teams who can win the national title and that second group of teams. That's just the reality of the sport. Indiana was a second-tier team last year in the world of college football, and they got boat raced by Ohio State and Notre Dame. Neither one of those games were close, and that's not a bad thing. That's a normal thing in the world of college football. And I think we're going to find out on Sunday, or excuse me, next Saturday when they go on the road to play Oregon. I think that I kind of know who those three teams are this year. Ohio State, best defense in the country. I mean, that defense is just nasty. Oregon, best quarterback in the country with a great defense. And Miami, and I'm still not sold on Miami. That's probably a me thing more than anything else. I am very excited to watch them go on the road on Saturday to play Florida State, because winning on the road in college football is hard. Florida State knows that. They just went on the road to play against Virginia, and they lost. That's the reality of it. Okay, so we'll kind of see what they end up doing on the road Saturday. But as of right now, I think I would put Miami in that little separation tier, right? And then you've got, IU, who is going to get to, they're going to have, a great opportunity, not this Saturday, but next, to test themselves against the absolute top of the sport a week from Saturday. I don't think that they're going to fare very well, because that's just the history of college football. It's also incredibly tough to win games on the road. But I do feel like Indiana is headed in that direction. I feel like they're better than last year. The defensive line especially, much improved from where it was. The offensive line, very good. I think Mendoza's a better quarterback than Curtis Rourke and all those things. So very kind of interesting. It's weird. I feel like the Big Ten has the two best teams in the country. The depth of the SEC is still something that's, I think, very important to look at. So the playoff committee this year, they're going to have to make so many tough decisions, because it feels like we're headed to 13 teams that are going to go 10-2. And that's obviously not going to happen. Teams are going to get upset and all of those things. So it'll be interesting. But I keep getting asked this question, and so I will answer it. I am a huge Arkansas Razorback fan. Okay? Huge. Love the Hogs. John Calipari's the freaking best. We wouldn't have said that a couple years ago. Van Horn, baseball manager, is awesome. And I've been asked, a few times over the past, few days, about what Arkansas is going to do with their head coach. Obviously they fired Sam Pittman. Just annoying. Should have done it last year. And I keep getting asked if they're just going to hire Bobby Petrino. The answer is, I hope not. And the other part of this is the way that Arkansas goes about their sports in this era of NIL is very interesting. And I don't think that it's sustainable. Arkansas wants to be good at everything. Their basketball program, and this is a grand sports thing as well. Their basketball program, a lot of the NIL is dedicated to that because they have John Calipari. Their baseball program, college baseball is a big deal in Arkansas. A lot of NIL goes towards that. Golf, they put money towards that. They evenly spread out the NIL money that they have to a point where every single sport can compete for national championships except for one, college football. And the issue with that is everybody knows this. College football drives the boat. College football, it brings in more money than everything else. And so something that I'm very intrigued to see is with this revenue sharing stuff, how do teams go about splitting it? Because let's be honest, the reason why you have the revenue sharing, it's because of football. That's just the very simple reality of it. So, yeah, so those are my thoughts on the Arkansas job. They've got to find a way to commit more money because, like, a team like Texas Tech, who lived at 6-6 for forever, a team like Indiana, the losingest program in the history of college football, they have both committed a ton of money to their football programs, and all of a sudden, they're good. Texas Tech, I said it before the year, I picked Texas Tech to win the Big 12 because a billionaire was like, I want Texas Tech to be good at college football. And so he gave them $30 million to go out and buy a roster. And they went on the road to Utah a couple weeks ago and just trounced them with a backup quarterback. It is a money-driven sport. And when you look at the teams at the top of the sport, they tend to be the teams with the most money. Ohio State, forking it out for their rosters. Oregon has the most committed booster in the country with Phil Knight of Nike. That dude's given them so much money, and they're ranked number 2. Miami, I don't know about their NIL situation, so I will not comment on it. But Ole Miss, oh my gosh, so much money going out to Ole Miss. Oklahoma, same thing. Texas A&M, same thing. A lot of money is committed to that football program. Texas, ranked 9th. There's a lot of money committed to that football program. Georgia, 12th, same thing. Sports, college sports, are looking more and more like Major League Baseball. The Yankees are good every year because their payroll is higher than everybody else's. The Los Angeles Dodgers have the best roster in baseball. They're probably going to win the World Series. They should be favored at least. You know why? Because their payroll is incredibly high. But you can do that in baseball because baseball is a weird sport where guys get hot, guys get cold, and so on. And that is really what dictates who wins the World Series and who doesn't. That is not how football works. And that is 90% of the time not how basketball works. And so you're moving into this no salary cap era in college football and every other college sport. And you are going to start seeing this gap be created not by who recruits better or anything like that. The gap is going to be created by which, head coaches, which athletic directors can fundraise the most money. That is the reality of it. And that bodes well for Big Ten schools just because the attendance at Big Ten schools tends to be much larger than schools in the South. And if I have, these are just random numbers that I'm doing to make math easy. If I have 100,000 alumni and you have 75,000 alumni, my football program is probably going to have a little bit more money than yours because I have an extra 25,000 people to ask for money from. That's the reality of it. And so college sports, very interesting. Still a lot of fun. Still fun watching Virginia beat Florida State. To me, I think it makes upsets even more enjoyable. It's like Ohio State, you paid $25 million last year for a roster to lose to Michigan at home. Huh, that's kind of funny. It just is. It makes it even better. So it does add a layer, but it also does create this gap. Like everyone knew last year that Ohio State had the best roster in the sport. Like there was no question about it. And it's because they forked out more money than anybody else. So college football, it continues to be this, elitist sport, but where, the rich get richer, the best programs, they always get the best players because they're the best programs. That's how the sport works. So very, very interesting times for college football. So that turned into something that I didn't think that I was really going to talk about. Also, in the YouTube chat, they're trying to figure out who the best football player in the history of Arkansas is. It's Darren McFadden, and there's no other question about it. Anyway, Major League Baseball going on right now. Sorry, Reds fans, but let's be honest, we all saw it coming. You're playing the best team in baseball. The sixth inning, having a chance to kind of put, to add more runs to it, and then not pretty detrimental to your chances there. But not super surprising. But I do think that the Reds are fun. Someone made a comment in the YouTube chat earlier about how they need to add a power hitter. I completely agree with that. I do like their core. They've got a great manager as well, so hopefully they can kind of build on this. We'll see what they do going forward. But we're going to get Dodgers Phillies, which is going to be a blast. I hope the Phillies are able to win that series. The Padres are playing the Cubs today, and that really sucks because it means that the Cubs season's probably going to be over. You got Yu Darvish, who's been around for forever now. Jeez. Yu Darvish taking on James Talion, however you say his name. And pitching advantage Padres. Without a doubt, they are favored in the game. We'll see how it goes, man. Manny Machado going yard yesterday is very problematic because, like I said earlier, baseball is not about, it is about your roster, obviously. With that being said, it's also about getting hot. And Manny Machado had really been struggling. Yesterday he goes yard. That is something that can kind of get you rolling a little bit. So hopefully that's not what's going to happen. Hopefully the Cubs, 5:00 this evening, hopefully they're going to be able to get it done. Dan Plesac is going to join the Dan Dockett Show today at noon. So it'll be a lot of fun to kind of hear him talk about all of these different matchups. When we come back at 11 o'clock, the Colts, Xavien Howard is gone. Hallelujah. Makes me happy. It just does. And Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports, he's joining the show at 11:20. So my thoughts on Xavien Howard's retirement in 4 minutes.
Folks ask, Salty Pete, what's the best part of being a pirate? Hello? It's all the buried treasure. I've been following this here treasure map all day. Time to dig. Oh, I went through a lesson, old trolley with... Arr!
You just hit a power line.
Contact Indiana 811 at least 2 working days before picking up a shovel. It's the only way to dig. Learn more at 811.safedigindiana.com.
Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and aired by this station.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I'm a plumber and needed to get work in the door.
So business was going down the drain?
Yeah, I went to Staples. They printed yard signs, business cards, even flyers to leave at supply stores.
But at what cost, man?
Well, I saved $125 on my order, and now I'm booked solid. Boom!
Back at ya. For your business printing, Staples.
That was easy.
Now save up to $125 on custom print orders. Valid in-store and online. Ends 11/1. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just...
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Hour number 2 getting underway here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. Whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And, of course, 14:30 a.m. if you're cruising around the Indianapolis area on another really, really nice day. The weather has been so good here as of late, and hopefully it's good on Saturday. We got Bourbon and Birdies going on at the back nine. It's going to be an absolute blast. So, Frank Schwab joining the show. here in about 20 minutes. He covers the NFL for Yahoo Sports. He's got a podcast as well. Very good. Had him on earlier in the year. He's great. He's absolutely great. So once again, he joins here in about 20 minutes. Xavien Howard has retired. Hallelujah. It just makes me happy, man. Like he was so bad. He was just
booty cheeks
every time he walked out onto the field after week 1. It was just brutal. And he did what all athletes do now, like whether you're retiring from your LA Fitness runs or, high school baseball, whatever it is, like you have to do some like emotional post thing. So I won't read the whole thing, but I will read the last 2 paragraphs. When I was away, this is Xavien Howard's post. Here's what he said. When I was away from the game in 2024, I fell in love with taking my kids to school, doing activities with them, and watching them grow up. Up to that point, I had always put my family after football. I am no longer willing to do so. Football league. My purpose has been fulfilled in this sport, but my kids are more important to me than football. I've had a hell of a career. And even though it's ending in a unique way, I'm cool with that because for once, I'm putting my family first, and I'm proud and excited to make that decision. Oh, man. Just what a question. Or what a quote there from Xavien Howard. Just so sweet, so nice. It's just a load of crap, though. That's the only issue. I'm going to translate this for you. He's really saying he's old. He doesn't have it anymore. He was probably going to get benched, and he didn't want to get benched, which I understand. I get that. If I was Xavien Howard, former All-Pro, I don't think I'd want to get benched for Jonathan Edwards, an undrafted free agent, or Mekhi Blackman, who almost got cut from the Vikings. Like, I don't blame him at all for retiring as opposed to getting benched. My thing is, if it was really a family thing and he really did fall in love with taking his kids to school and doing all that kind of stuff, which are really good things, and I'm glad that he likes doing those things. With that being said, if he'd really fallen in love with it the way that he makes it sound right there, he never would have came to play for the Colts. That's just the very simple reality of it. Like when you love something, you don't go back and do other stuff that get in the way of the things that you love, unless you absolutely have to. And he didn't absolutely have to come back and play corner for the Colts this year. That's just the very simple reality of it. So he's just simply not good enough to be a starter in the NFL any longer. Okay, we've seen it the last 3 weeks. He comes out week 1, outstanding game against his former team, the Miami Dolphins. Like Tua didn't even throw the football to his side of the field. And there's a part of me that's like, all right, here we go. There it is, Xavien Howard, new cornerback number 2. Because, like last year, I mean, when the Colts were terrible at corner, I pounded the table a little bit. I was like, Xavien Howard is just sitting at home right now. Maybe go get that guy. And so I felt good about it. I was like, all right, here we go. Like just play the long game. You were right about Xavien Howard the whole time. And then these last 3 weeks happened where it becomes very, very clear that he can't defend anyone playing receiver for the Denver Broncos, just with how many penalties he committed. The Titans are terrible, and he still got called for pass interferences and holding and illegal touching and all those things. And that's with, Calvin Ridley being their best receiver. Then, against arguably the best receiver in football, he gets absolutely torched by Puka Nacua. 13 receptions, 170 yards, and a touchdown. And that was the end of it. He's like, all right, see ya. Not really. The Colts were like, see ya. You are not starting for us anymore. And that's probably what happened. Yesterday, he walks in, say, hey, Xavien, just want to let you know, these last 3 weeks have been really brutal. So you've given us some choice, but we got to bench you. Sorry. And he was like, all right, I retire. I'm good. And that's why he made the decision that he did. And I don't think that you want a guy like that on your team. The guy's just going to quit as soon as he gets benched and he's done. just kind of tells me that he was there to cash a check and play for himself. And you don't want that. Like, you want a player, you want a teammate that's fully committed to winning, whether they're playing or not. You want a teammate that's fully committed to not only doing his best, but trying to help his teammates do their best. And a player who retires after struggling for 3 weeks and likely retired because he got benched, like, that's a player that doesn't care about his teammates. It's a player that doesn't care about his team. That's a player who only cares about himself and cashing that nice big fat check that these NFL teams give out after every game. So it's good that he's gone because he was bad on the field. That's just the reality of it. If he's a me guy on top of being bad on the field, then it's definitely good that he's gone. And now 2 players for the Colts are going to have opportunities to make a name for themselves. So we're going to see how Jonathan Edwards and Mekhi Blackmon perform at corner. I'm assuming it's going to be one of those 2 guys out there on the perimeter, cornerback 2 opposite of Xavien Howard. Good news for them. They can't do any worse. More good news for them. Their first start is going to be against the Raiders. And the Raiders don't have any super elite wide receivers. They don't. It's Jacoby Myers. Like, that's their best receiver. Brock Bowers is their best pass catcher, but he's usually lined up in either the slot or he's got his hand in the dirt, in line alongside an offensive tackle. So they shouldn't have to worry about defending that beast. But there's a part of me that feels like the switch has come in a little bit too late. Like, if you make this switch a week sooner, do the Colts stand a better chance to beat the Rams? Maybe. I don't know. But I get that Xavien Howard gets a longer leash because he's a veteran, and veterans, especially a veteran like him, like I said, a guy who was a Pro Bowler multiple times, a guy who's been first team All-Pro before. So I understand guys like him getting a longer leash, but the dude had been out of the league for a year. Like, isn't that a sign that he doesn't have it anymore? The Colts were terrible at corner last year. They're running Samuel Womack out there, a guy that they picked up off waivers. And the Colts were terrible at corner. And they're like, nope. Instead of former All-Pro Xavien Howard, we're going to run Samuel Womack and 7th-round pick Jalen Jones out there to play corner. And maybe it was a scheme thing, but still, like, they didn't want him last year. And I'm honestly looking forward to this switch just from an effort standpoint, because there were definitely moments with Xavien Howard playing corner where it just kind of felt like he didn't care. He seemed kind of apathetic whenever he'd make a mistake. I don't think that's not going to be the thing with Mekhi Blackmon, who's a former 3rd-round pick who tore his ACL, was going to get cut by the Vikings until the Colts stepped in and gave up a 6th-round pick for him. He's a guy who has a real chance to kind of get his career back on track. Jonathan Edwards, he's a rookie. He's an undrafted free agent. Making it in the NFL as an undrafted free agent is so incredibly tough. It is. So he's going to have an opportunity to step up and prove himself. So they're the 2 guys that I don't know if they're going to split reps. I don't know if one's going to start. I don't know how they're going to do it. But it's 2 players that have a lot to prove. And at a minimum, they're going to give more effort than what Xavien Howard did on a down-to-down basis. The only issue now is Xavien Howard, man. Like, that dude has to stay healthy. No, like, he has got to remain healthy for the rest of the year, because the guys behind him, it's not great. Not great. Speaking of injuries, I'm going to run through them for the Colts here really quickly before we have Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports on the show. Alec Pierce, full participant yesterday, points to him playing against the Raiders on Sunday. The Colts need him back for a couple of reasons. One, it's just going to be nice to have a big target who can go up and make contested catches one-on-one. Like, when you go back and you look at that Rams game, I think the Colts only had like 1 contested catch, and it was A.D. Mitchell's one-handed catch that he dropped before crossing the goal line. Everything else felt like receivers. It felt like just like routine plays for wide receivers, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because like you want receivers running open. Like you want it to look easy, right? But it is nice to have a guy like Alec Pierce who can go win jump balls in one-on-one coverage and kind of help create more of those explosive plays. So it'll be nice to have that option made available again to the Colts on offense. Hopefully it kind of helps them be a little bit more explosive in the passing game. Matt Gonzalez was a limited participant after missing the Rams game with a toe injury. He needs to be back. Dalton Tucker for a game's fine. I don't want him out there for 2. With that being said, Matt Gonzalez has been one of the best offensive guards in the NFL to start the season, according to PFF. Great in pass protection, really good in the run game. The Colts are going to be better if he's back this week. And I think he will be. If they didn't feel good about his toe, he wouldn't have practiced at all on Wednesday. That's just the reality of it. Because Wednesday is the nice off day for guys that are like a little banged up, but not overly banged up and all those things. So I do think that we're going to see Matt Gonzalez play on Sunday. Zaire Franklin, he didn't practice. He's got an ankle. That's actually concerning. I don't think Zaire Franklin is some stud. He's currently missed 15% of his tackles this year, and if he keeps that pace, that'll be a career high for him. The issue is he's their best linebacker in a room with bad linebackers. Buddy Johnson is probably going to play Sunday, and they just signed him off the Cowboys practice squad. And he's going to play this week. If Zaire Franklin is out, it won't really matter if they run Joe Bocci out there or me or you or Shaq Leonard is going to be in attendance. They should just run him out there, honestly. It won't really matter. Ashton Janty's going to have a huge day. Tyler Goodson, still banged up. Kenny Moore, not practicing right now with his Achilles injury. The Colts need him back, but I will say that Mike Hilton did a good job holding his own against the Rams, which is like that's a big deal because obviously the Achilles stuff is scary. Everyone knows what happened with Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA Finals. So with Mike Hilton, a guy who's had a lot of success in Cincinnati, playing for Coach Anarumo, because he looked good against the Rams, I'm not as concerned about Kenny Moore being out for a prolonged amount of time because it seems like Mike Hilton is going to be able to step in and be at least serviceable, maybe not as good as Kenny Moore, but not to a point where you're like, man, what a liability. Then again, it's one game. I think this is how a lot of people felt after Xavien Howard, week 1 against the Dolphins. He comes out and everyone's like, oh, great. Cornerback number 2 slot is fixed. And then the next 3 weeks happened. That could happen with Mike Hilton. But given his track record in this defensive system, I don't think we're going to see that. With that being said, defending Tutu Atwell is very different than defending Brock Bowers, who will be lining up in the slot this week. I don't know if they're going to use him or a safety to defend him, but we'll kind of see and monitor how that goes. Daniel Scott, he didn't practice either. He's got a knee. He's a special teamer. Hopefully he's okay. This only becomes an issue if Cam Bynum gets hurt. It's the reality of it. So hopefully the Colts can just stay healthy. They still haven't had any back-breaking injuries. Meanwhile, you look around the NFL and everyone on the 49ers is hurt. Can't wait for that game tonight. Rams, Niners is going to be a blast. And then you look at the Ravens, like half of their defensive starters are out. The Chiefs, Xavier Worthy missed a couple of games. Rashee Rice obviously suspended. Starting left tackle for the Raiders is out. Like you look around the league and injuries are slowly starting to pile up. We got a long way to go until the end of the season. So hopefully the Colts can just continue to find a way to stay healthy. It's really important. And you need to find a way to get down to Holiday World and Splash and Safari. They do a great job celebrating the holidays at Holiday World and Splash and Safari, the sponsor for today's show. Get down there. They've got an awesome drone show going on right now to celebrate Halloween. Their drone shows are spectacular. If you got kids, they will have so much fun. Get down to Holiday World and Splash and Safari. Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports does a great job covering the NFL. He is set to join the show coming up here in 4 minutes. We're going to talk Colts, Raiders, and other big NFL storylines in 4 minutes.
Decisions determine results. So which path do I want to take? Help people in need or stand on the sidelines watching? Worry about how to pay for school or have my education paid for? Push myself and learn new skills or stay the same? My decision is to serve part-time with the Army National Guard, and my results will be life-changing. What will you decide? Go to NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service.
Sponsored by the Indiana Army National Guard.
Average Amy's. Our coffee has caffeine and our muffins are cooked.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. Whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. You can also listen or watch on X __ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. Frank Schwab was supposed to join. Called him. He didn't answer, so I texted him. Hopefully he's going to call in here at any moment, and we will talk Raiders and Colts and all the other storylines around the NFL. But let's start with the Raiders, who are incredibly healthy right now. They've got two big injuries that are important. Everyone else outside of that is rather healthy. One is their starting left tackle. He got hurt against the Bears. He's on IR. He is not playing on Sunday. And then the other injury that they had, Lonnie Johnson Jr. broke his femur, which is just absurd. I mean, breaking your femur, like that's what, like you gotta like try to break your femur. Like that's a tough thing to do. But hey, this Lonnie Johnson Jr., he did it. Aside from that, though, they're a very healthy football team. None of the other four starting offensive linemen even popped up on their injury report from yesterday. They got some guys that popped up on there, but They only had one guy who didn't practice, and that's just because he was sick. I doubt that Justin Shorter, wide receiver for the Raiders, I doubt he'll be sick all week. But, Brock Bowers was limited. Brennan Jackson was limited. Michael Mayer, he's got a concussion. He was limited. Who else here? D. Kamari and Richardson, he was a full participant. And Eric Stokes, another corner, was limited. So they're a very healthy football team. It's the reality of it. Thankfully, so are the Colts. And in terms of the injuries, there are a couple of tweaks that I expect to see from the Colts when they play them. The biggest one is I expect for Leatu Latu to line up over the Raiders' left tackle every chance he gets, because he is the Colts' best pass rusher. And if I would want to put my best pass rusher on the opposing team's worst, offensive lineman, and that way they have to double him, and then you leave, DeForest Buckner one-on-one and all of those other things. So we'll see if they do that or not. That's what I would do. But, what do I know? Are the Raiders good? This is the question. They could be. I thought they'd be much better than what they are to start this season. And I figured they'd be average. 8-9, 9-8. They made some improvements from last year just in terms of the guys that they hired. And I think this is Frank Schwab right here. Hey, what's going on, Frank? You're live on the air, by the way. How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. I'm doing really, really well. Joined by Frank Schwab, senior writer at Yahoo Sports, also one of the hosts of the Inside Coverage podcast, joining to talk a little bit of NFL stuff. So let's start with the Colts. How good are the Colts? Do you believe in Daniel Jones? Where are you at with their 3-1 start?
I don't know. There's still some skepticism, but there probably shouldn't be. If you look at that game, they lost to the Rams last week, but they deserve to win. I mean, if A.D. Mitchell doesn't drop the ball or doesn't hold on Jonathan Taylor's touchdown, or they put 11 men on the field for Tutu Atwell's touchdown, they win that game at Los Angeles. They've already beaten the Broncos, who I think are a good team. So there's just a little part of me that's saying, I don't know if this is for real, but the results are all there. Like the results, they should be 4-0 right now with a couple quality wins. They were a team last year. I looked at, and I'm not saying I saw this coming because I don't think I picked the Jaguars to win a division. I didn't pick the Colts, but they were 8-9 last year with the 31st best passer rating in the NFL. If you could just bump that to 20th, you could be a playoff contender. And I see, that they're getting, beyond 20th best quarterback play out of Daniel Jones. So yeah, they probably are a playoff team, even if I have this little voice in my head saying, I don't know if this is legit who the Colts are going to be all season.
You're not the only one. Like, I kind of feel that way too. And it's, for me, it comes back to Daniel Jones. I don't even want to call it a critique because it's something that we really haven't seen much of. Like, I just want to see him play from behind. We haven't really seen that from him much. Yeah. And the one time we did was Sunday and he threw a really bad pick. Is that kind of your holdup? Is it a Daniel Jones thing or a scheduled thing? Like, what do you think? Where does that little voice in the back of your head come from?
It probably is a Daniel Jones thing. And I also don't love their defense. It's good. I don't think it's great. I don't think they're completely fantastic at cornerback or, I think they have holes on that defense. They don't have a guy up front who can just take over a game, although DeForest Buckner can at times. It's just a team that I don't know. I just don't see the ceiling. But yeah, part of that is just skepticism about Daniel Jones. Can he keep this going all season? Can he, like you said, can he play from behind in adverse situations? The run-out's been pretty good for him so far. But I also look at it and say, I think the Broncos have a really, really good defense, and he smashed them for 315 yards. So
yeah,
any skepticism I have, honestly, is completely unfounded based on results so far. They've been great. They've been one of the best teams in the NFL. That's undeniable. And, I guess you can just call me a hater because I'm just finding ways to be skeptical about them.
No, I did a whole thing yesterday on my Daniel Jones questions, and people were not happy. So you're all right, man. They are playing the Raiders this week. I thought the Raiders would be like an average 8-9, 9-8 kind of a team. I feel very wrong about that. What are your thoughts on the Raiders through the first month of the season?
Yeah, they came out week one and beat the Patriots, straight up beat the Patriots. Like, that wasn't a fluky win. Like, they won that game in New England, and you're like, oh, wow, okay. Like just like you said, I thought they were going to be very competitive, but in a tough divisions, I couldn't get them to like 10 wins or anything. But I'm like, oh, and then, come out week one, you're like, okay, here come the Raiders. And it's been bad since then. Geno's been bad. Like, I don't think Geno Smith is a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a great one, but I think he's fine. Like, he's reasonable, but he has not been reasonable the past few weeks. He's just throwing a lot of interceptions. He's pressing, and it just won't get better with their offensive line issues. That's what really troubles me with the Raiders right now is you take Colton Miller off of that offensive line for a while, and it's just going to be a bad line. And Geno has never played well when he's had bad, when he's not been protected well. So I just worry that the Raiders are going to take a step back before they take a step forward. And in this season where, you hire a 74-year-old coach, you go out and trade for a 36-year-old quarterback. You want progress now, and here we are. Like, they had the nice week one win, and I think their season's already spiraling a little bit on them, and that's obviously not what they signed up for.
It's not. Once again, joined by Frank Schwab, senior writer at Yahoo Sports, also host of one of the hosts of the Inside Coverage podcast. So the one bright spot, I think, for the Raiders is Ashton Jeanty's a lot of fun, big breakout game against the Bears. But like you said, the offensive line isn't great, so I feel like we haven't even seen like the full experience of Jeanty. But what have you thought about him through this first month?
It was so nice to see him play well on Sunday, because the first 3 weeks were rough. You're looking and you're saying, wow, they drafted him 6th overall. Really, a rebuilding team drafted a running back 6th overall. He's not even playing all passing downs, and et cetera, et cetera. So it was really good to just see him have a breakout game and see the guy we saw at Boise State, who was just dominant and challenging Barry Sanders records and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's who he is. I think he's going to be a heck of a running back in the NFL. But yeah, the offensive environment around him is not going to be great. It's, how many games are they going to have negative game scripts where he just can't get 20 carries? And how often is the offensive line just not going to be good enough, or Geno not good enough? And teams are stacking the box. There's not a lot in his favor. And honestly, that's why teams who are drafting 6 probably shouldn't draft a running back, because they can't really support him to be great. But as a talent, I was so happy to see him really ball out on Sunday. He's one of the best prospects ever at the position, and he really showed why. That was great to see him break out like that.
He's just – I've watched a lot of Raiders because I did bet them to win over 7.5 games. Seems like I'm going to lose some money there. But I tweeted this out, and I should have thought it through before I did. I said that I think that the Raiders cover Ashton Jeanty in like fish grease before every game. And I meant that in like he's super slippery. It seems like it takes multiple guys to tackle him kind of way. And someone was like, he doesn't stink, man. Like he's really good. And I just like, even thinking about, as you mentioned, like he's one of the best prospects at the position ever. Like I've never seen a guy just walk into the NFL and break multiple tackles. It seems like every time he touches the ball. You mentioned your concern with the Colts defense earlier. My biggest concern with the Colts defense, the run defense is awful. Like the fact that Kyron Williams only carried the football 13 times on Sunday felt wrong. How much success do you think he finds against this Colts defense this week?
Yeah, and it's just a lot of that is just going to be literally game flow. I mean, there is a scenario where they're behind 14-zip right away. I mean, that's how the Colts are playing. They're at home. They're 7-point favorites. I mean, you could see a scenario where all of a sudden getting Ashton Jeanty the ball 25 times is just not realistic. But I think that's all that's really going to be holding him back. Otherwise, I think he plays well. I just think from here on, now that we've seen it, and Omarion Hampton's the same way. In some ways, Woody Marks might be the same way. You see these rookies come out first week or two, the speed of the game, you got to get used to that. You got to get, a lot of stuff maybe that doesn't go your way, but then you see them get comfortable, start to play to their talent level, and that's just it for the rest of the season. And I think that's going to happen with Jeanty. I think that's going to happen again with Omarion Hampton. A lot of these rookie running backs now, this class is really, really good, and Genty's one of them. And yeah, I do think I wouldn't, as long as the game script is okay. I mean, I think he's going to be fine. Let's put it this way: I think he's going to be fine per carry. It's just a matter of, can the Raiders stay in the game to get him enough carries to kind of get him, 100-yard type of game.
Joined by Frank Schwab, senior writer at Yahoo Sports, also the host of the Inside Coverage podcast. You did a video with Jason Fitz, kind of breaking down or doing a preview of tonight's Rams and 49ers game. And I love the 49ers because I look at their team and they're so beat up and they just keep kind of finding ways to win. They're 3-1. And then I look at the Ravens, who are also incredibly beat up, and they're 1-3. I understand that part of the difference in that is I think the Ravens' schedule has been a little bit tougher than the Niners. But what do you just see any other difference between the two teams and how one banged up team can be 3-1 versus the other one that's only 1-3?
Yeah, and some of it is just the breaks of the game. I mean, look, week 1, Derrick Henry doesn't fumble, and Jake Tongas doesn't catch that ridiculous pass for Brock Purdy just tossed up in the air into the end zone. All of a sudden, you're talking about, okay, both of these teams are 2-2. So sometimes it's just luck of the draw that way. But I have a ton of respect for what the 49ers have done. I really do. I thought through 3 weeks, Kyle Shanahan was one of those guys who should have been creeping up the Coach of the Year leaderboard because he dealt with so many injuries, and they were 3-0. Now, last week they gave one away, and now you're in a tough spot. I think you're going to compete tonight. How could you win that game with so many guys out? The 49ers inactives list is going to look like the list of guys they send to the Pro Bowl every year. There's Kittle and Pearsall and Jennings and Bosa and Purdy, and it's just unbelievable how the injuries are dealing with. But I think a lot of it, yes, it's been schedule for the Ravens. If we were talking about the Ravens and just they're 1-3, what do you think about them? I'd say, you know what? As weird as it sounds, I'm not really worried about them because they lost to the Lions. They lost kind of a fluky game to the Bills. You lose to the Chiefs, fine, whatever. But it's not just 1-3. It's 1-3 with all the injuries. They're going to look like a preseason lineup on Sunday, unless our injury report gets better. That's going to look like, hey, this is week 3 on a Friday night in Baltimore in the preseason. Here you go, Cooper Rush. It's a tough run out for the Ravens who, you have to assume John Harbaugh's sitting there saying, we need to give Lamar Jackson 2 weeks off because the bye comes in the 3rd week he'd be off. And that's perfect. But what if you're 1-4 and going to face the Rams in week 6? I don't know that you can necessarily afford to keep Lamar Jackson on the bench. If he can play, he's got to play. And so they're in a really, really tough spot. I think the 49ers are in a tough spot too because injuries are piling up. Bosa's their most valuable player, in my opinion. And you play in a much tougher division than the Ravens do. The Ravens could still win that division at 9-8. I don't think the Steelers are for real. So, but I guarantee you the NFC West is not going to have a 9-8 champion. I absolutely guarantee you that.
Yeah. So what is it? I liked the Steelers coming into the year. With that being said, they have not met my expectation, especially on defense. I felt like the game against the Vikings was the first one where I was like, all right, that looked a little better. But then it's like, it's Carson Wentz. It should look better. What is it about the Steelers? Because I've heard a lot of people say this, that they don't really believe despite the 3-1 start. What is it about them that makes you a little hesitant on them?
Yeah, and it is the defense. The defense, and hey, maybe Sunday was a turning point because they did look a lot better. All of a sudden it was like, oh, hey, there's TJ Watt. Okay, cool. But I just think, their offense is very limited at this point. Aaron Rodgers it's a cool story what he's doing, but if we're just judging him as a quarterback, he's not playing well. He's playing fine enough, but his average depth of target is less than half of the next guy up on the list. He's last in the league in average depth of target, 3.1 yards. Kyler Murray is second to last at 6.3. Aaron Rodgers is just throwing at the line of scrimmage. He's not throwing anything downfield, and kind of that's what happens when you're 41 and you don't want to get hit. So I wonder if their offense is a little too limited. And then that's fine if your defense is awesome. I don't think their defense is all that awesome. Maybe we'll see going forward. But yes, very, very skeptical of the Steelers. I think that they're good. They're going to be in that 8-9 win range. Just kind of how we thought before the season. I just didn't think the Ravens would also be in that 8-9 win range or worse. Who knows? But yeah, I think the Steelers, look, the start is fine, 3-1. You take that all day. You hope to get better, but I do think they got to get better on both sides of the ball if they're going to continue anything near this pace.
Joined by Frank Schwab, senior writer at Yahoo Sports covering the NFL, also the host of the Inside Coverage podcast. So Lamar Jackson banged up. Ravens not in a very good spot. Joe Burrow's going to miss 3 months. The Chiefs' start to the year hasn't been super inspiring, although they did look better against the Ravens. This kind of has to be the year for Josh Allen and the Bills, right? With that being said, I feel like we say that every year.
I think this one's different, though. And just the run out of September has been so perfect for them. It literally could not be better. They're 4-0. They beat the Ravens, an absolutely huge head-to-head game. If it comes down to, I don't think it will anymore. It comes down to tiebreaker or whatever. You look and you just say, all right, the rest of the AFC, the Chargers are getting beat up. I don't know necessarily that we look at them as one of those top-tier teams at this moment just because of the injuries. The Chiefs, do have promise because Rashee Rice comes back week 7. All of a sudden, you're looking at that offense with Rashee and Xavier Worthy. You're like, okay, they can start cooking now. But they're behind in the race. All of the Bills' key games coming up are at home. Their 2 toughest games, I know it's the Eagles and somebody else. I think it's the Chiefs, actually. Both of those games come in Buffalo. So theoretically, you should win those. This is, if you look at their schedule, this looks like a 14-win type of season for Buffalo. They have to get the number 1 seed. If they don't, it's a failure. It really is. I hate to say it that clearly because the NFL's tough and teams are going to lose games, there's injuries and whatnot. But after the September that has run out for the Bills, where no team in the AFC looks good, nobody. The Bengals are done. The Broncos have taken a couple losses. The Chiefs have taken all these things have happened in favor of the Bills. This is the time. You need to get that number 1 seed, be 2 home games in Buffalo away from a Super Bowl. That's one thing they have not been able to do. They have not gotten a 1 seed yet under Josh Allen. You have to this year, or you failed. Like, this is it. Like, this is, if you're serious about making a Super Bowl, you get that 1 seed. I know whatever happens in the playoffs happens. Like, it's not like the Chiefs couldn't win in Buffalo or anything, but that's the dream right there. You got those crazy fans in Buffalo who have been dying for a Super Bowl. You get 2 home games in front of them to go to a Super Bowl. That the Bills should be, easily favorites, minus money at this point to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. It has run out so well for them in September that this is the year. You got to get it done this year.
I agree, and it does feel a little bit different, like you said, just with all the injuries and the AFC just feeling really down. And 14-3, I definitely think is in play for them. As you mentioned, they do play the Eagles, and you said every team in the NFL loses. Except for the Eagles, apparently. Why can't they lose? Like, what they've done is just incredible.
It really is. Because I'm so torn on the Eagles because you look at it this way. Best roster in the NFL. I think we all agree on that. They've had 3 quality wins. It's not like they've had an easy schedule. Like, at Tampa Bay is tough, and the Chiefs, and they've played Rams, really, really good team. So they've had 3 quality wins, or 4-0. You say, wow, okay, the Eagles. But if you've watched this team week to week, you know that they have not come close to playing their best. There's a quarter or a half in each of these games where they just disappear. They just look like a bad team. Saquon Barkley hasn't gotten going. A.J. Brown hasn't done anything. They didn't complete a pass in the second half against the Bucs last week. Obviously, the Rams game was weird, and that the Rams just absolutely positively dominated them for two and a half quarters. I don't know what to make of the Eagles. On one hand, I say, well, 4-0 and they're Super Bowl champs and they're obviously talented. On the other hand, I'm like, what is keeping this team from just playing 4 quarters of football? It's weird. I'll tell you what, I'm really this is not a great slate week 5. There's no marquee game, anything like that. There's a couple good ones. The one I'm most interested in is Broncos at Eagles. I think the Broncos can win that game. I really do, because the Eagles are eventually going to fall asleep in one of these games and not be able to pull one out of the fire. Like, they're going to play 2 bad quarters and somebody's going to take advantage of it. And I think the Broncos could. I really do. So, I'm just interested to see. For right now, though, yes, you're right. It's like they just can't lose. Like, even if they play poorly for 2.5 quarters, they still find a way to win. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think they've won. I think the number's 19. They've won like 19 straight where Jalen Hurts starts and finishes the game, which is just incredible. Once again, joined by Frank Schwab, NFL senior writer over at Yahoo Sports, also the host of the Inside Coverage podcast. At some point, I'm going to say that correctly. So the Broncos, they're 2-2. Which 2-2 team do you like the most?
It might be the Broncos, and not without a list of 2-2 teams in front of me. Because I'll tell you, I do like the Broncos because look, we do this. We cover the NFL now like it's 18 one-game seasons, which is kind of weird. Like, if you just go back and look at what the Broncos have done so far this season, they lost at the Colts, a playoff team with no time left on the clock. They lost at the Chargers, probably a playoff team with no time left on the clock. Okay, like, does that mean they're a bad team? No, they could so easily, if they don't take a leverage penalty against the Colts and Bo Nix throws the one pass he needed to throw to close out that game. They're 4-0, and we would have thought that would have been the first thing we talked about. Are the Broncos Super Bowl contender? They're 4-0. Like, so we make these sweeping judgments based on just small samples, and one game doesn't go their way this way. I think the Broncos are a very good team. Their defense is awesome. We saw a little bit of that on Monday night. I get that the Bengals are bad, but the Broncos, really good defense, really good offensive line. Their skill position guys kind of woke up on Monday night. The one factor for them is Bo Nix. Bo Nix has not played well, period. But he started slow in September last year, so you wonder if he looked a little bit better on Monday night. If he gets going again, gets his confidence back a little bit. Maybe he's been a little too overconfident with some of these throws early in the season. If Bo Nix can play at the level he played at last year, doesn't even need to play better than that. Just play at the level you did as a rookie last season. I think the Broncos can win that division. I really do. I think they're a very, very good team that's so far under the radar because of two losses with no time left on the clock. Like, that's going to happen in the NFL. But I don't know all the other 2-2 teams off the top of my head, but I can tell you that of those teams, I really do like the Broncos. They're really under the radar right now because of just two fluky losses.
They are. The defense, as you said, could be the best in the NFL. They definitely have the talent for that. The question is, of course, Bo Nix. And I feel like it's not a direct comparison. I do think there's a lot of similarities, though, between them and the team that you picked to win the AFC South, the Jags. Really good defense. I've got questions at quarterback. Bo Nix has been better than Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't question that. Oh. How are you feeling about your Jags pick to win the AFC South?
And that's the thing. It's, you pick a team, not a favorite to win the division, and they're 3-1. I should feel great. I should be like, wow, I nailed that one. I don't. I feel like the Jaguars are a house of cards right now. They are. Their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, we got to stop. It's just done. Like, Trevor Lawrence, this is who he is. There's no other level coming. There's nothing. Like, we got to stop year after year, and I am guilty of it as anybody. Oh, this is the breakup for Trevor Lawrence. Liam Cohen. He's just not good enough. He's fine. Like, he's a middle of the road. He's Geno Smith on the East Coast. Like, he's fine. Like, whatever. Like, there's nothing else coming for Trevor Lawrence. And they take stupid penalties. They make dumb mistakes. Like, I respect the heck out of Liam Cohen, but right now it looks like a poorly coached team. They're just not very disciplined. They're getting by on a lot of takeaways. I think 13, if I'm not mistaken, takeaways so far. And that's great. That's fantastic. But you also can't depend on that week after week. You go into a game against the Chiefs this week, Patrick Mahomes ain't throwing 3 interceptions. Okay, so how do you win? Can Trevor Lawrence play well enough to move the chains? Is Travis Etienne really going to have another 150-yard game against that defense? Probably not. I just think they're a fraudulent 3-1. If you're asking me, like, which 3-1 team do you have the least confidence in, it's the one I picked to win the division. And I hate that, but I got to be honest. I have the results have been good for the Jaguars. The process has been bad. If you watch the Jaguars week after week, I just think there's so much that they need to get better at. It doesn't look like a 3-1 team when I watch them. Let's put it that way.
I agree. The takeaway, look, they had 9 takeaways all year last year. They're already at 13. That, like you said, you can't really rely on that. They have ran the ball well. That is the one thing that I think they've kind of hung their hat on. But outside of that, like you said, a lot of penalties and just a lot of, I believe that turnovers in the NFL are luck, and just a lot of luck is kind of falling their way. Frank, thanks for your time, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
You got it. Frank Schwab right there, NFL senior writer over at yahoosports.com. You can follow him over on X at Yahoo Schwab. Does a great job covering the NFL. When we come back here in about 4 minutes more on the Colts.
fits in today's sports world. It's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also watch on X, __ Jonathan Smith, or you can listen via the Indy Sports Ticket apps you can download wherever you find your apps. So, oh man, we got issues with our internet here. It's not good. All good though. Colts playing against the Raiders on Sunday. Can't wait. Should be another win for them, right? But this is the beauty of the NFL. There are no gimmies, right? Not even if you're playing the Browns. Like we saw the Packers go on the road and play the Browns a couple weeks ago, and they found a way to win, right? We saw the Chargers 3-0 go on the road to play against the 0-3 New York Giants on Sunday, and they dropped it, right? So, the other guys, they're getting paid as well. Very excited to watch this game against the Raiders on Sunday. And I was looking at the NFL slate because, as Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports, who joined us in that last segment, mentioned, it's not a great slate on Sunday. The game tonight, I do think is going to be awesome. Niners, Rams should be a lot of fun. Minnesota, Cleveland at 9:30. No thanks. Giants, Saints, yeah. Cowboys, Jets, yeah. Broncos, Eagles will be a lot of fun. Dolphins, Carolina, yeah. Here's how banged up the Ravens are. The Houston Texans are favored on the road against Baltimore. That's how banged up the Ravens are. Titans at Cardinals, who cares? Buccaneers, Seahawks will actually be interesting. Then you got Lions and Cincinnati, Commanders, Chargers, Sunday Night Football is Patriots and Bills. And then Monday Night Football, you get Kansas City and Jacksonville. Like, there's one good game on Sunday. One like nationally interesting game, right? Every game will probably end up being close because that is just the natural nature of the NFL. And it's a really tough football weekend. We're coming off of a great one last weekend. Saturday was awesome. Sunday, a lot of good games. And this weekend, it's like Alabama, Vanderbilt. Yay. Miami, Florida State. Yay. And like that's it. Like, those are the two best college football games on Saturday. And then Sunday, Broncos, Eagles is the only good one. So here's my advice, because I know you turn on your radio to get advice from a 25-year-old. Go hang out with your wife. I'm not going to do that because I'm a psycho, but I am on Friday. So yeah, just not a great football weekend, which really kind of sucks, but it'll be all right. If you don't like it, you can watch NBA preseason basketball, which started up today as well. That's going to do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune in, no matter how you tuned in. If you want more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. You can subscribe over there. I do just a lot more football stuff. It's just usually not Colts related, so feel free to go and check that out. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way in 5 minutes. Dan Plesac joining the show to open.